可能不是对口 video 哈，茉莉姐，这来呢。zigzag 了是吧？cái này chị trả tiểu chung cần cầu lên đó. Đó chỉ mà giờ chủ tàu một cái tàu lên đó, một chiếc tàu chị cần cầu lên, chiếc tàu dù lên đó đó. Ồ, bây giờ chạy lũ rồi, train hả nè? Dạ. Bây giờ chạy lũ họ nó ít ra. Ít ra chạy vậy mà chẳng ai thay cơ.
You're sailing to a lost island, you're encountering monsters and creatures from, prehistoric times. So I was thrilled when Universal invited me back to Skull Island. And it's great to have you along for the ride. We're about to return to Skull Island.
That's right, adventure does await us on Skull Island, but so do a lot of ferocious creatures. So with that in mind, everyone remember to stay seated, keeping your arms and legs inside the tram once we make our way deeper into Skull Island.
The Universal tram is winding character and personality of Kong as he appeared in the movie. We really put a lot of thought into the character and personality of Kong, and he's so much more than a monster. In fact, he's not a monster. He is an incredibly majestic, ancient creature. He's a force of nature. He's old, he's wise, he's proud, he's fierce, and obviously he has a heart.
An island hidden in fog. Nobody's lived here for hundreds of years. A wall 100 foot high. Why did they build the wall?
wonder of the world. That was Kong
Hi,
360. How's everyone doing? We all still here? No one got devoured by a T-Rex?
โอ้ย
Gosh, I hope
จง
not.
ใช้แต่ตาเลย
Pretty sure that comes out of my insurance.
ได้น่ะสวนลูกแกเข่งเข้าห้อง
We'll
ป้า
do a quick head count though, just to make sure everyone's still attached. And car 1's all accounted for. That's a good start. Welcome back, car 2. Great to see you.
โอ้แต่
Hey,
เนี่ย
car
ต้อง
3, you
ใช้
made
กัน
it
เนอะ
too. Whew. And car 4 and
ก็
5. Oh, no, this car 4.
ก็บนใช่
Let's see what happened to car 5. We lost one. Oh, no one in that one. Oh, no, I'm kidding. We never had a car 5. Car 5, that was a visual effect. That entire experience we just went through, a stunning example of visual effects, which are special effects that we create in post-production by digital effects artists. That particular experience created by the very talented digital artists at Weta FX, who also helped bring to life the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, Planet of the Apes films, Avatar, and most recently Wicked. Now, I mentioned we talked a little bit more about the Metro set here on the left. So we talked about how it was a controlled environment. We talked about how we can control all sorts of different elements, time period, time of day, time of season. We talked about the exteriors as well. Now, you're going to notice something a little peculiar as we go through our London Square area of the Metro set. And that's this 2D wall here on the right. We call this a trompe-l'oeil. That's a French term for a false wall. Now, you'll notice this wall looks a little different than the buildings on the left. And you're probably wondering, well, why did we skimp out on this one? Well, the fact of the matter is we actually needed the space on the other side, but also, your eyes have 2 lenses, camera lenses have 1. Day going so far. We having a great time, the weather's great, we're at Universal Studios Hollywood. What's not to love? Look, we've got some first visits in car 1 and a birthday. Happy birthday, how's your day going so far? You guys having a great time? Excellent. 2 shakes.
Papa, anh đi áp đi con.
Sì, capica che tu.
Ở tụi trai train á.
To use for your monster.
Hello, my name is Pierre Coffin, and I'm the director of Minions and Monsters, and I also do the voice of the Minions. I mix Spanish, Japanese, Italian, and even the funny names of the stuff I like to eat.
Miso soup tapioca.
The Minions have always been about laughter, playful rebellion, and togetherness, and this movie lets us bring that into a whole new world. I hope audiences walk away remembering what it feels like to be a part of something, and that out of the messiness can come magic, like making a movie.
Mega Movie Summer all summer long. Those minions might be with us all day long. Now, my name is Rich. I'm your guide. My privilege to do so today, but I am part of a dynamic duo. Next to me is our driver, John. Everyone say hello, John.
Hello, John.
John's going to make sure we got a smooth, safe drive. And John and I also have a celebrity co-star that you might recognize from shows like Saturday Night Live and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. You guessed it, Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, hey there. You made it. Welcome to the Universal Studio Tour. I'm Jimmy Fallon. I'll be making sure that you get through this experience in one piece. You've got the very best guide.
Rich.
And the greatest driver.
John.
They're the best. I love them. Even though
Rich.
owes me $5.
It's awkward.
I know you guys are excited to get on the tour, but first, a few safety rules.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yes, I do have a few safety rules to cover with you. First, if you need guest assistance, if you have a medical emergency, if you drop something about you on the side of the tram or have any sound or video issues, go ahead and pull that red emergency cord that runs along the center ceiling of the tram, and I will be back to assist you as soon as it's safe for me to do so. Otherwise, during the entire tour, please remain seated, keeping your arms and legs inside the tram at all times. The studio is private property, and if at any point during the tour you drop your phone or you just can't wait to use the restroom, go ahead and pull that red cord. But otherwise, do please remain seated inside the tram. Also, please no smoking of any kind. And be prepared, our tour today does feature loud noises, fire effects, and many water effects, so you might get wet. There are also sudden tram movements during the tour, so secure your personal belongings and hold on tight. Finally, for your safety and those around you, we ask that you refrain from using selfie sticks during the tour. All right, with that all said, folks, it's all downhill from here. Like literally right now, moving downhill, outside of the park and into the studio. What do you think of it? We are passing our fire station here on the right, Fire Station 51. Now, you are going to see a lot of movie sets on the tour today, but that's not one of them. That's a real fire station, real LAFD fire station, and real firefighters, not actors. Thank you, 51. Now, I mentioned Universal got its start filmmaking all the way back in 1915. It also opened its doors to the public that very same year, actually. Back then, for a 25-cent admission, you could actually visit Universal Studios and watch films being made in real time. We even had bleachers set up next to our film sets, and you were encouraged to cheer on the heroes of those movies without that impeding the productions whatsoever. Well, because those were silent films. Sound had yet to be introduced, but that all changed in 1927 with the release of The Jazz Singer, the very first talkie. And from there, studios adapted, and one important way they did was by building sound stages, like Soundstage 12 here on the left. This is our biggest and our oldest soundstage on the lot, built in 1928. That was home to Dracula's castle in 1931's Dracula. It was also Frankenstein's laboratory in 1931's Frankenstein. It was the Visitor Center in Jurassic Park. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, there was Whoville, the Penguin's Lair in Batman Returns, Doc Brown's Mansion, and Back to the Future. So many notable productions have filmed just in that one soundstage alone. These sound stages may look relatively unassuming from the outside, but inside, they're essentially blank canvases that we can use to create whatever the productions call for. The sound stages we're going to pass here on the left have been used over the last several months for productions such as the 4th and final season of Bel Air, also season 2 of Ted, season 5 of Hacks starring Hannah Einbinder and Gene Smart. Now, we're going to pass these sound stages and you're going to see one of these soundstage doors open on the left. We call those elephant doors because oftentimes, well, we do have to fit something as big as an elephant inside those sound stages. Over the last, these sound stages go back decades. They were used for the classic television show Leave It to Beaver. Also for all my Firefly fans, Serenity used these sound stages. Soundstage 9 that we're passing on the left used in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, for the infamous shower scene. So a lot of history, a lot of stories within the walls of these sound stages. And on the walls, on the monitors, you can see the inside of the walls. We call that quilt-like material on the walls Insulquilt that helps block out about 98% of sound, which makes these buildings so useful. It's very noisy out here on the front lot, but inside, virtually silent. Now, I mentioned we can create whatever the production needs on these sound stages, and Soundstage 14 on the left, no exception to that. It was also used in NBC's show Superstore, the store Cloud 9. But it was also where one of my favorite films of all time filmed, John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a fantastic sci-fi horror film from the early 80s. If you ever saw that one, that was the entire Antarctic research station right there in Soundstage 14. They actually refrigerated that soundstage during production of that movie because it's set in Antarctica. They had to create the illusion that a very cold environment. Jurassic Park filmed in this soundstage. The memorable scene where Dr. Grant and the kids are up in that tree and Brachiosaur leans in, sneezes all over Lex. Right there in Soundstage 14. Ron Howard actually used Soundstage 14 for Mission Control and his movie Apollo 13. Very blessed to Universal to work with so many talented directors over the years, including a up-and-coming young director you might have seen on the interview circuits. His name is James the Minion. I told you these minions would show up again. We also have worked with directors like Christopher Nolan, whose picture Oppenheimer was Universal's 11th Best Picture winner. That used Soundstage 19 coming up here on the right. That was the Oval Office set from that movie, a set that we actually borrowed from the television show Veep. Television, of course, a very important part of the activity here on the front lot for many years as well. Back in the 60s and 70s, we were using these sound stages on the right to film shows like Columbo and Night Gallery, Bionic Woman, $6 Million Man, Battlestar Galactica, The Incredible Hulk starring Lou Ferrigno. And television is relevant today. We actually have a brand new show coming out soon, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe, a single-camera spin-off of The Big Bang Theory. Also season 3 of The Paper and St. Dennis Medical. And this guy on the left knows a thing or two about television. That's Ted. And he's got a show on Peacock. It's called Ted. Ted's welcoming us to these production bungalow spaces where a lot of the top production companies in Hollywood have their offices, including Seth MacFarlane's production company that produces the television show Ted. Also Kevin Williamson's production company that produces the Scream franchise, Scream 7 recently in theaters. Mark Platt Productions, who produces the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, as well as Wicked for Good. And this is where a lot of development, a lot of pre-production happens, and that's pretty much everything that happens before those cameras first start rolling. It could be finalizing the script, or casting, or working on the shooting schedule, or the production budget. All those elements of pre-production would happen in these production offices here on the left. Once upon a time, these bungalows were dressing rooms for our actors back in the contract days. 30s and 40s, actors were contracted to specific studios for several pictures, so stars like Rock Hudson, Doris Day, and Jimmy Stewart would be in these bungalows when they were not on set. There's Mark Platt Productions' office on the left. You'll see the green Wicked balloon right out front, right there. Another production company that has their offices here is the De Laurentiis Company, 5195 coming up on the left. They produced Blue Velvet, Pumpkinhead, Evil Dead 2. And there's also a very familiar silhouette on the side of their bungalow because that was also once the bungalow of Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense himself. Worked out of the office right over there. Hitch, famous for putting himself in cameos in his movies, he tried to do it as early as possible so people wouldn't be distracted from the plot by trying to find him. On the left here, 25 and 26, two of our newer sound stages. We can actually combine these spaces into one giant space. It's been used for St. Denis Medical over the last 2 seasons. As I mentioned, these sound stages are virtually soundproof. Unfortunately for those minions, not monster-proof. Hope they clean that up before season 3 of St. Denis starts. Speaking of St. Denis Medical, here is a look at that show.
Welcome to St. Denis Medical Center. St. Denis Regional Medical.
I have access to some really good stuff, and I will hook you up.
Yeah.
No, man. That was a test.
We're like the Avengers, you know?
We're not supposed to have fabrications, but we do.
I almost don't want him to get better.
Pale, kind of blotchy.
It's the other one.
Oh my god, that's much worse.
It's a very funny show. If you haven't seen it yet, careful, you might need a doctor afterwards. It'll have you in stitches. Now, the interior scenes of that show, filmed in those sound stages right over there. The exterior locations of that particular show, among many other productions, use our Metro set here on the right. And this very contemporary-looking hospital building on the right is indeed the exterior of St. Denis Regional Medical Hospital. We would have our cast going through those doors, and we would match it to the footage that we film on the sound stage, because behind those doors is just empty space. So we call it a shell. Now, across the street are brownstone apartments. Those go all the way back to the Laurel and Hardy days. They were also used in our 1971 Best Picture winner, The Sting, starring Robert Redford. In that case, it was 1930s Chicago. So we can use these sets for all sorts of different cities, as well as different time periods, and that's very important because many of you will recognize this next location as 1955 Hill Valley. Friends, welcome to Courthouse Square. And that is indeed the clock tower on the left from Back to the Future. Now, before it was the clock tower in Back to the Future, it was the courthouse from To Kill a Mockingbird, which is what this area is actually named for. It was also used in the pilot of the Twilight Zone episode called Where Is Everybody? Now, you're looking at the City Hall on the left, and you're looking at the monitors, and you see the clock tower from Back to the Future, and you notice some aesthetic differences, and you're wondering, well, what happened to the clock tower? Did they replace it? No, I assure you we didn't. But sometimes a location can be so iconic, it's too iconic, and therefore conspicuous in productions it's not a part of. So we use a false front, a facade like that, to disguise the building as something more ambiguous. But behind that exterior of the City Hall is the exterior of the clock tower from Back to the Future. And behind that exterior is the courthouse from To Kill a Mockingbird. And behind that, not much else, just empty space. That's actually never been a full building, just layers of those false fronts. Now we're going to leave the small town charm of Courthouse Square behind and head to the big city. And just like that, we're in New York, specifically our New York street. So once again, here's my co-star Jimmy Fallon to tell us more about New York.
Hey everyone, welcome to New York!
Just said that.
I got my start right here in New York on Saturday Night Live. This is actually my old neighborhood. Once got mugged over there by an old woman. Tough lady. This is my favorite hot dog guy. Hey buddy, how's it going? Remember me? No. Just like old times. Gotta love New York City. Hey! I'm walking here! It's cool, guys. I was just walking there. So it's not exactly New York, but a lot of times when you see New York in the movies, it was shot right here on the Universal Metro sets. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Even if you make it here on the Universal lot.
It's true, our New York street has been home to many productions set in New York. It was used in Transformers, Fast and Furious, presents Hobbs and Shaw. For any of my MCU fans.
The Universal Studio in LA đó. Đó tàu kỳ mà chạy lúc train á. Ô mi Jong, con nhớ con cái chả phỉ cho ba nấu cơm mi Jong. Ok mẹ nè sợ con cũng thấy nè. Nè rồi con à. Yeah, sấy tôi à. Okay, sấy tôi à. Ok. Ok, mẹ á, mua sợ nè lo à, mua rồi. Mua rồi nè lo à. Ok, ready? Mua rồi nè lo thế hả? 1, 2, dùng câu số 1, 2, and 3. Chỉ là luôn not. Okay, yeah. Thay cho nó cũng chuyển record ha, okay?
Okay, Julissa, get the chicken. Julissa, get the chicken.
Green, green chicken.
Chicken, green, green.
No, like this. Có sợ đạt nổi, thay thứ này.
알았어. Ready? Dad, sit down. Dad's shadow is covering your... Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Dad's head is like shadow is covering your face. It's okay.
来了。哦，有摆做点古董多，正好。
I'm sorry, I had to see that. Okay, well, I don't think he's coming back up. So, I'm gonna have John move the tram behind us here while we radio this in and figure out how to get out of here in one piece. We should be relatively safe behind all of these flammable barrels of gasoline. On second thought, this is not gonna end well. I think we might need a bigger tram. But now you can tell your friends and family back home you narrowly survived a shark attack. Speaking of which, pop quiz. Who out there can tell me what kind of shark that is? Great white. You're 100% very close. It's a mechanical shark. Yeah, mechanical shark. It turns out those are native to fresh water. You see, they filmed Jaws on location in Martha's Vineyard. It turns out saltwater mechanical components, not a great pairing. Our mechanical shark Bruce sank right to the bottom of the Atlantic within the first 2 days of filming. In fact, Jaws was delayed almost 6 months due to technical issues. It was actually supposed to be a Christmas release. But it worked out for the best. Became the very first summer blockbuster. Literally coined that term because people lined up around the block to see it so many times. And if you're wondering why our mechanical shark is named Bruce, it's named after Spielberg's lawyer. It's a true story. Now, the weather here in Southern California is pretty nice all year round. It's actually why most of the studios moved out west in the first place. Some of them even got their start in New York City. New York City, it's true. But if you remember back in the silent era, there were no sound stages yet, so almost all filming was done outdoors. It was very dependent on natural lighting, but also good weather. You don't want your productions getting rained out. But what happens when you do need that rain to provide additional atmosphere to your productions? Well, here in Old Mexico, we can provide a demonstration on how we create the rain when Mother Nature is just not cooperating. Ta-da! We use a pretty fancy system to do this, very high-tech. They're called sprinklers. Yep. We have the sprinklers affixed high atop the set outside of the frame of camera, and it propels the water into the air, and then it cascades quite naturally to the ground below like so. Artificial raindrops. And we can use these simulated lightning strikes at night, not only to add to the dramatic effects, but also backlight and illuminate these raindrops to make them easier to capture on film. Now, the most important thing about these raindrops is, unlike real raindrops, once the scene's over and the director yells cut, we can turn them off, so we don't use too much water. And they're not turning off. But we're using way too much water this time. I'm so sorry, folks. If you're in a blue seat, you might get wet. Oh, they're all blue seats, so no. We should probably get that looked at. Now, why would we do that? That's our flash flood demonstration. It's actually the oldest one currently on the tour. And a very accurate depiction of how we create weather on a movie set. Sometimes very tumultuous weather. Here's our flash flood as it appeared in the movie Big Fat Liar.
Từ nước của mà chắc nó thay đổi lửa của mà lấy thay của ta. Hóa ra nó cũng chỉ một chỗ rồi.
You can't outrun the wolf, kid! Yeah, we'll see about that.
Wow, giờ còn nữa. Giờ có thầu bố lên nào, bố còn nữa. Dạ, giờ còn nữa.
Now we're going to roll by our Amity Island set one more time here on the right. And if it looks familiar to you, but you can't put your finger on it, you might recognize it from a show called Murder, She Wrote. Because nearly every episode of Murder, She Wrote used our Amity Island set as Cabot Cove. It actually still says Cabot Cove right over the boathouse. For 12 years, Cabot Cove, the highest murder per capita in the country. Feels like someone was getting whacked there on a weekly basis. Rough place. But Cabot Cove, a sleepy little East Coast hamlet, which is appropriate because we're heading up towards Colonial Street where a lot of our residential areas are filmed. This house with the green roof on the left, that's Boo Bradley's home from the 1962 Best Picture winner, To Kill a Mockingbird. And over here on the right, this very distinct Victorian home is Miss Mona's Chicken Ranch from the Dolly Parton classic Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, where Dolly sang, I Will Always Love You. That very same house was also the Firefly Ranch from Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. So there's a lot of adaptability of these sets. One particular set, two very different productions. That's very important. We try and do that a lot here to be able to use our sets as much as possible. And folks, we actually are in for quite a treat today. We don't normally get a chance to do this, and that's actually go down our Colonial Street because there's almost always something filming here. It's one of the most heavily used sets on our backlot, and for good reason. Much like the Metro set, it's a controlled environment, and a lot of TV shows and movies require neighborhood settings just like this. And again, it's much more difficult to film in a real neighborhood where people live and have to get out of their garage to go to work. And if that entire street is lined with jet cranes and camera trucks for several weeks or even years at a time, if that show goes several seasons, that's a big ask of the people who live in that neighborhood.
Chỗ này nó là cái ha, thầu mà bé family sao ạ? Cái mấy family gì bé family cái chỗ sao, hay sao, là gì sao? À chị, cái là chị chơi nữa.